All right, folks, it is 6 o'clock now on November the 13th, and we are calling this meeting to order of the Bastrop Economic Development Corporation. So we'll start off with, do we have any public comment this evening?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, very good. Well, then we'll move on to regular business and presentations, 3A. I want to welcome our new board members, Amberly Palmer and Frank Urbanic, and we really are looking forward to working with both of you. This is a great organization, and we do as much as we can possibly do for the enhancement of the folks that live here in Bastrop, and we actually work very well together. So welcome to your new positions, and let us know if we can help in any way.
Thank you.
All right. Very good. 3B, receive training from City Secretary. All right, we're going to get trained here.
Good evening. My name is Ann Franklin. I'm the City Secretary. And thank you all for allowing me to come before you this evening to give you a brief training on the boards and commissions. Some of the training will be directly directed at the staff. Some will be for the board and the staff, but it's good for everyone to know the process and to know the information that goes into putting the agenda together and running the meeting. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If I don't have the answer readily available, I will be sure and get that answer for you. So we'll start off with the Rosenberg rules is what the council and the boards and commissions mirror one another and follow the same rules. And in 2018, council changed over from using strictly Robert's rules to using the Rosenberg's rules with Robert's rules sprinkled in there a little bit. And then there's also rules in the code, the Bastrop code, that the council approved, and those rules are used as well. We also have the rules of procedure, which is usually amended annually, and you all should have a copy of this. You probably don't have a hard copy because we went to sending out electronic copies because it was just easier to keep up with and easier to search through. But you're more than welcome to have a hard copy if you so desire. Just let me know and I'll make sure you get a copy of it. Also, if you have misplaced your electronic copy, it's gotten buried in your email, I will be sending out the link or a copy to Angela. Angela will get that to you all, and you will have it up at the top of your email so you can use it. It's very, very useful. I would just suggest perusing through there and looking at it. It has a lot of information in there.
Ms. Franklin,
Yes,
can I ask a quick question, and it may be for Ms. Ryan. Can that be uploaded into the OneDrive and our BEDC resources, please? That would be super helpful.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
As soon as
you.
I get it.
Okay. All right, great. The next thing we'll talk about are the agendas. The agendas, we use what's called the MuniCode Agenda Management. That's the software that we use to put the agenda together. Staff gathers the information from you all for what's going to go on to the agenda. That information is placed into the agenda management, and it creates the agenda to be approved by you all before it's posted, I'm assuming, but it's Angela, the staff person, whoever the staff person is that's responsible for the agenda, puts it together in the MuniCode Agenda Management, and it processes all the information, the backup, the contents of the agenda is placed into agenda management, and that's how we create the agendas. We also, the agenda procedure, I've given you in the packet that I placed on the dais for you, there's a copy of a agenda. It's just a raw agenda. That's what it looks like before the items are placed in there. There are some things that the agenda management automatically generates out for each agenda. And so it can be changed if you need to add sections or change the sections that are in there. You're able to do that. And that's mainly as I said, this is really for the staff. You all wouldn't be working with the agenda management, but just to give you a little backstory as to how you get the agenda processed for you. The next thing are the minutes. The minutes, of course, come back to you all at the next meeting generally to be approved. Once those minutes have been approved, the staff gives a copy of that to the city secretary's office. We keep those on file. Anytime you need a copy of your past minutes, just give me a call, or you can go out online. We keep them out on the online through the agenda management. Copies of the minutes are out there. So if you ever need copies of past minutes, they're available to you. We're required to keep those. They do not have a destruction date. We're required to keep them permanently. Also, I'll touch on the attendance in the packet that I gave you. I gave you the information about the attendance. I believe it should be in there. If not, please let me know. But the attendance, as a member of your board, you're required to attend at least 2/3 of the meetings per 12 months. That comes out to 66% of the meetings. There are exceptions. If you have to miss a meeting, there are exceptions that if you submit information to me to let me know that you're absent and the reason for your absence, it's excused. And I'll read those off for you. The first one is medical circumstances involving the member or the member's immediate family, urgent family matters that are not medical in nature, required attendance at events, meetings of the member's primary employment, or any other absence excused by the City Council upon the Council's receipt of a written explanation and a request by the absentee member that the Council make an exception and excuse same. So any excused absences do not count against your attendance. This is for regular meetings. If it's a special call meeting, those are not factored into this attendance record. It's for your regular called meetings throughout a 12-month period. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. We'll give you all the information that we can, but this is, I gave you the code that it comes from, so you can read over it, and I would just suggest just keeping it handy. But just always remember, if you have to be absent within a 2 weeks period, please submit that information to me to let me know that you were absent and this is why you were absent, and we can make sure that we record that and it doesn't count against you. Okay. New member training, and I understand the new members have already taken care of your training, so I don't have to really talk any more on that, other than that's something that is required of new members within 90 days to do so, and congratulations to both of you on doing so. The other thing is the verification of address, email, and phone numbers. If you move, if you change your email address, if you change your phone number, please make sure you let the staff liaison and myself know immediately. It's very important because the information that we push out to you all, that's how we reach you. And if we don't have accurate contact information, then you won't get the information we're trying to get to you, or it will take longer. So it's helpful if we have current information on file. So please keep that in mind if anything changes. The last thing that I'll touch on is you have a copy of a work plan template in the packet.
We only have about 4 pieces of paper in this. We don't have a whole lot of actual samples of what you've been talking about. So if it's possible to send that to staff, or they can then send that to us.
Sure.
Because I understand what you're saying. It's just not actually in the package
Okay.
that I have.
Okay, sure. I'll go through my list and I'll send you all the things that that are there. I think I'm missing probably minutes. So if you want to give me your packet once we finish, I'll make sure you get a complete packet. We'll do it like that. Okay. So the work plan that you have a copy, something that council is required that all boards and commissions plan annually. And so I've given you a copy of that just so you can look over that work plan and familiarize yourself with it. At a later date, the city manager will address that with you all, give you more information on it. I don't have the information on how that should be filled out and what's expected of you, but the city manager will do so. Okay. Okay. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank
You're
you very
welcome.
much. Okay. Let me hand that there to you. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, we are now going to move on to 3C, presentation from Roscoe Bank for the donation of funds to the BEDC in the amount of $20,000. And no, please come on up here. But I would just like to say before you start, Iris, is that I want to make sure that everybody understands that this really was a total grant of $100,000, $20,000 over 5 years. And I just want to make sure that publicly it's stated that, because this is absolutely fantastic. We really do appreciate it. I just wanted to make it clear that of the total amount of the grant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate that. My name is Rick Womble, and I'm the local president of Roscoe Bank, which is, of course, a division of Cornerstone Capital Bank. And our bank has a mission statement that, if you would indulge me, reads, "We honor God by using our talents to make a positive difference in the lives of our team members, clients, shareholders, communities, and the people who provide services to us." We believe that we're called to make a positive difference. And I would applaud, on behalf of our bank, I would applaud your efforts here with the Bastrop Economic Development Corporation as you seek to make a positive difference in our community, in the lives of its citizens, and in the climate of our local business. We're proud to partner with the BEDC and have committed, as you mentioned, to a total investment of $100,000 over a period of 5 years. And we're proud to support this organization towards the establishment of the microloan grant program, as we've previously discussed in our first presentation. This will be the second of our 5. Thank you for what you do. The contribution that we present tonight represents only one of several commitments that our bank has made to organizations in our community in conjunction with the merger of Roscoe Bank and Cornerstone Home Lending. And we hope that this is seen as a reflection of our ongoing commitment to the residents of the Bastrop community, Bastrop County, and that we're doing so in ways that were not possible for us before. One of the core convictions that we have as an organization in our Cornerstone family is that we are wise stewards, and we believe that that is inherent in who we want to be. A particular component of that conviction is that we will increase our generosity as our business grows. And on behalf of the Board of Directors of Cornerstone Capital Bank and our local team members, I'm proud to be able to present you tonight with this second check in the amount of $20,000. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for allowing us to be a partner with you in it.
Great. Thank you so much. It's really wonderful. Doesn't go to me, but
We didn't bring the big check this time. We just brought the real check.
come on, Johnny. I'm doing good.
We'll do that.
Okay, well, John's now awkward. Got it.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Again, thank you very much.
Appreciate you coming.
Okay, let's see here, 3D. We do this basically every year. Consideration, discussion, and possible action on election fiscal year 2023 to 2024, BEDC officers, chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer.
Yes, sir. So typically, after the appointment of new board members in October, November timeframe, we'll go ahead and hold the elections because they're for a year. So it is now time to do election, or however you guys want to do it. It's not spelled out in our bylaws. So you could simply say, I want Ron to continue to be chair or not, whatever. But we do need to fill the secretary treasurer position because we haven't had one in a few months.
Yeah, so let's take nominations here for chair. We need a motion on that.
So I would nominate Ron continue as our chair.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, that motion carries. I will make a nomination then that that Connie Schrader continues with the vice chair, and I'd also go ahead and I would like to also nominate Frank Urbanic to take the place as our secretary treasurer.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Excellent, the motion carries. Welcome aboard. Okay, now we're going to go into 3E, consideration, discussion, and possible action on schedule for the upcoming board meetings, including the date and the times of the meetings.
Yes, sir. This is something else that we've gotten in the habit of doing at about the same time that we have new board members appointed. It's just a good time to review the schedule as it's supposed to be. We've gotten away from it over the last few months just due to some scheduling conflicts. So we thought it was a good time to bring it back. We typically meet on the third Monday of every month unless it falls on a holiday. But if the new board members, for whatever reason, can't make that commitment, then it would be a good opportunity for everybody to discuss a different time.
Ms. Ryan, is March 18th spring break?
I believe it is the end of spring break. Anybody have children in the system? In school? Yes. Is that the end of it? I want to say the 15th is, I can find out.
Yeah, I never know, but exactly. Not that these guys would know what their schedule is, but I just know that sometimes we end up having a problem with that if folks are out of town. And since I have the mic, I'm asking, the city secretary left. I'll be in Greece on June 16th, so I'm not going to be at the June 16th meeting, yeah. And the chair just said I have to come back, and I'm not, so.
Basically, there's going to be some opportunities here to make some changes depending on what takes place. But, I mean, that's what we've been having for the last 6 years that I can remember. So I think it's a pretty
It always
good...
throws everybody off because we say it's the 3rd, and people come on as new, and they start the year, and we don't do it on the 3rd in January. We don't do it on the 3rd Monday in February, and then it's spring break, and they wonder. So I love that we know what the dates are now. And Ms. Ryan, if you could send us calendar entries, if somebody could do that, that would just be phenomenal. Block those.
Thank you. That's exactly what we need. Okay, then no other discussion on that. We'll move to 3F, approval of the meeting minutes from the regular BEDC board meeting of September 25th, 2023. Need a motion of approval.
Motion to approve.
We need a second on that?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor to approve the minutes? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. 3G, preparation, discussion, and possible action regarding the fiscal 2024 BEDC budget, plan of work, including the small business development and the workforce development.
Thank you, Chair Spencer. Cece, will you bring up the Excel spreadsheet, please? We heard you. The last time we spoke, there is a spreadsheet that's in front of you. It's a big ledger-sized sheet that's on the screen for anybody following at home. We tried to make the budget as easy as possible, starting with this is how much money is in the bank, this is how much we expect to spend, this is how much we will end the year with. We have some further detail in the packet and further detail in the PowerPoint as we move forward. Two key things have occurred. One of them was an election that happened on November the 7th that reduced the EDC tax from half a cent to now 1/8 of a cent. The budget implication to that is pretty significant. And so what we did is there is, to the far left is the budget without the election passing so that you can see a comparable. The budget right in the middle is with the election passing. You can see that we start with the beginning fund balance of 9.6. We collect revenues of about 3.3. 2.67 of that exact number is in your PowerPoint. Let's see, makes its way from the normal 3/8 cent sales tax. Sorry, 2.29045 makes its way from October to March. And then the 1/8 of a cent begins in the second quarter. So from April to September, there's an 1/8 of a cent, and that is $835,000. So total anticipated BEDC revenues for FY24 is $3,064,937. We have some lease income, interest income, and the grant receipts, specifically the Roscoe Bank grant, and that puts us at $3,352,987. There are some programmed expenditures, $799, which accounts for 6 personnel that were approved in the budget. Obviously, right now you have 1.25 in Angela and I, not quite 6. So there's some significant savings to be had there. Supplies, materials, obviously we have rent charges as well. Contractual and capital outlay are some of our biggest expenses, and those are commitments we have made with the city and legal expense, et cetera, which equal about $10.3 million. So you can see with what we had in the bank, what we're going to collect, what is funding, what is operational, what we keep in, or what is uncommitted funds. We expect to end the year at $2.61 million. We take that further and we go into 25 if nothing else changes, and by some particular miracle we are able to complete all of the projects and all of the dollars are drawn down, with the exception of $2 million in capital outlay in 25, which takes us to 1.5 negative in FY25. We start with the 2.61 that we talked about in 24. We have 2.038 million in revenues, and that's because we're to 1/8 of a cent. 4.7 in funding commitments, 885 in operating uncommitted funds, and so we end at 1.5 negative. So these are topics for discussion, specifically the funding commitments and the projects that are listed on the deck. I know it's a lot of information tonight. I don't expect us to dissect it, but we do have to take a really closer look at it. The other big item is, as the tax is passed, and two of the topics that seem to be associated with EDC that were of a good, warm, and fuzzy feeling were the EDC's assistance during COVID, the grants that were handed out during COVID with the cooperation from the city, and also the small business development that we began for a little while during Drew's presence, specifically as we partnered with some of our Main Street partners, and he did a marketing segment and how to get your business out in marketing. And he was a specialist in small business development plans, and so he had worked with the Small Business Administration. So we had folks coming in, and he was helping them write their business plans in order to get funding. One of the people that got funded received the grant, which is the Bearded Baker. He'd help them with their business plans on how to get things off the ground. He was also doing some marketing and web work. So Drew's no longer with us, and so Angela's operations, doing all of the accounting and day-to-day, and I'm dealing with the customer impact as we try to move the projects along that are on the deck right now. We have several that are already in advanced stages of execution. So this will be a topic for the board to pick up in terms of where does it see itself going? What is it that we believe is doable with the amount of funds that are coming in? Are there any funding commitments that we believe should be taken off the deck, moved to the side, find alternate sources? An area of concern for me is we've got two that aren't even listed here. So the board discussed Burleson Crossing. At the time that the board discussed Burleson Crossing, the planned development had not been approved, and so the board chose to wait until the planned development was approved. That was an ask of about $636,000, I believe. Because it's not committed, it's not shown here. The other item is because we've not completed the engineering in the business park, I don't have an opinion of probable cost for the cost in the park. We have the engineering programmed here of $1.4 million, but I don't have what is the total expected cost, nor the cost for the Colorado Bend, which is part of some of that engineering. The third thing is the electrical in the build out of the park. It'll be included in the OPC for the park, but you can see in a later item on your agenda that Bluebonnet Electric has already submitted what they believe is a good estimate, and that's over $720,000. So that right there, just between Colorado Bend, just between Burleson Crossing and the electric, is already almost $1.4 million that isn't even included in this sheet. So lots of items for conversation, and I'm happy to have any questions.
Well, I think one thing is fairly obvious or evident is that now that since Prop A passed, we definitely are going to have to really take a good hard look at actually the three. It's going to be 3G, the 3H, and the 3I. These are all the expenditures that we have looking at. We're going to need to really spend some time looking at what we have already committed to, what we're actually obligated to via contractual format, versus what we've talked about and discussed and said, yes, we can do that based on what we used to have as a budget, and now since things have changed, we're going to need to have a lot more discussion on that. There's a lot of information here that is going to need to be digested and processed and whatnot. What I would like to set up is, for lack of a better term, an ad hoc committee of, let's say, the executive committee here, so we can kind of start taking these out in bite-sized chunks and take a look at what we have on the books and come up with more of a prioritized type of list of what looks like is doable. And this is not just for what we have in the contractual services, but I mean, this is going to include personnel as well. I mean, you started off saying, we have, in the past, we've wanted to have 6, but obviously that just doesn't make sense these days. So we're going to have a discussion on that as well. And to me, that's part of the budget discussion. So I believe that once we come up with more of a prioritized list, then we go ahead and have a workshop with the full board, come and present what we believe are pretty good priorities, listen to input, and see if we can't come to a consensus on how we're going to approach this, because we do have a substantial difference in what we talked about in the past and what we have now because of Prop A passing. So that's kind of what I'd like to at least propose and how we take care of this, so that we know what we're doing, we have a prioritized list, and it's and we have some time to actually digest this and process and take a look at it. Comments? Okay.
Sorry, you guys always
Anybody have any comments about that?
I think it's a great idea, a great plan. I think it's a great start. I do have just one question on the capital outlay. What will have changed by 2025 to reduce that amount?
Hopefully, some of the projects will be completed.
We don't have an idea which ones, though.
Yes, they're itemized in, Cece, will you bring the PowerPoint back up? Let me get to, I'll get the clicker. Well, I'm buzzing, but I'm not changing. Okay. So we gave some pretty detailed information here, and this is really just like a ledger. We took it just as a running ledger. Here's the dollar amount, and here's everything that we're going to take out. So contractual services is 5.1, and then we have projects 4.72. So contractual services includes that audit, legal, engineering, and then we have projects and programs. The downtown lighting project already well underway. The Agnes Street grant, also well underway. Blakey Lane, also under design, underway. South Street, we have not begun design. We have something that may come to council if we have an identified funding source. And intersection improvements is already underway. So that's a good chunk of the 4.72. So the downtown lighting, we're at the point, it's on your agenda. It's on your agenda tonight. That's already been designed. We did make some design amendments because it was going to be some more poles and things cluttering up the area. So we made some changes. But Agnes Street and Blakey are probably two of the greatest modal portions that are well underway. We'll talk about program support, admin support. And then here's the capital outlay of 3.4 is the industrial park improvements. That's 1.4. That's for Doucette, and that's underway. And then we have the technology MLK infrastructure of $2 million. I don't know that that'll be enough. Angela's hedging over there. She's got some dice. And then these other charges will some of these will also pay out. And then we go into super detail on personnel and the overhead costs. So it's the vast majority of those projects.
But so the 3.4 in capital outlay, going from 3.4 to 2, it's assuming that the engineering will be
Yes.
completed in the fiscal year 24.
Yes, yes.
And then on
Always
the,
so succinct. You can go straight to the
on the personnel, so there's two. We have two right now.
1.25.
1.5. is that-
1.25. I only count as 0.25.
1.25. So, but that 799 is for six.
For six.
So automatically, right there, that's gonna, or
That depends. That's a
on whether or not
conversation
we
for
want to
y'all.
bring in more personnel or just leave it at the two. Okay. So that's one that we definitely can put on the list, I think, Ron.
That's going to be part of the discussion, you're right, because like I said earlier, I don't think we need 6, but we do need to see what we are going to do, and that's going to be based on what projects we're going to prioritize, and what we
What
feel
type
is
of projects,
what
yeah.
kind of type of projects, what we feel is necessary. I honestly don't believe it's going to be 6. It's going to be a lot less than that, 2, maybe 3 at the most, but that's just my 10-second opinion.
And if let's say it is 3, do we then still need the office, or can we move 3 people around to get rid of the space and
We may
reduce
be
that
able,
cost?
we may be able to move some folks around. It just depends on what type of work they're going to be doing. So, for example, if we decide we're going to focus on job training, for example, then perhaps as a partnership with the school, they can office at school campus or with the Smithville workforce or whatever that is. If it is small business retention, is it a partnership with the chamber? Is it a partnership with the city here at one of the offices? It just kind of depends on what they're doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
what they're going to do.
I would add that to my top 5 for discussion as well. The office. Thank you.
We tried to give as much detail, but knowing that it can be overwhelming.
Okay. Well, if there's no further discussion on this, then we will move on to 3H, the update on the BEDC. Oh, so, I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Is it Mondays? Would you like to do that on Mondays?
Yes, what I'd like, yes, and right now, as it is, I meet with Sylvia, the city manager, on Mondays, and we go over different topics of what's going on, some agenda items and things like this. What I'd like to do is now start having the executive staff, so Frank, that's going to be you, Connie, and myself, are going to meet with Sylvia to start getting our hands on, getting on every one of these things, the projects, the personnel, the expenditures, the strategy going forward, if you will, on those things, and then move that into more of the workshop, bring it out to the board, talk about it, discuss it, and see what makes sense. And that way, it's going to be a lot quicker to disseminate the information, process it, get it down to a more working level format. So
The balance sheet that we gave does not include the largest asset, right, of the industrial park. And so as the engineering comes through, even if we decide not to focus on all of the infrastructure, we at least know what's necessary. So when an entity comes, we're not in the position that we'd been before, where we kind of show them this raw ground and say, go have at it. We kind of think it's developable. We at least now will have at least some relative information. So we may not be able to give dollars, but information is just as valuable sometimes.
And that brings up an interesting thing. I guess it's kind of obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway, is that we're going to have to learn how to say no. We've been saying yes to a lot of things in the past, and because of the current situation and the passing of Prop A, we're just going to, unfortunately, on some things, going to have to say no, but that's just the way it's going to have to be.
So, and I'll state the other obvious. As part of the EDC budget, so the city was funding major road, right, to the tune of about 50% of the EDC budget. That is going to be replaced with the traffic impact fee. And so that's not a kitty that the city will be able to come to anymore, at least not for those kinds of things, unless it's an absolute project that EDC says, yes, we're absolutely willing to do that. That's dependent, but again, we're trying to do our darndest in terms of master plans and planning, so when a development does come, we at least know what you need, can we serve you or not? Because we're learning right now in some areas, I can't. We do have to say, maybe, but not yet at this instant, which we hadn't said before, so.
Well, I have a fairly flexible schedule, so I'm available on Mondays, but Mr. Urbanic has a full-time job, so I would, whatever timing works for everyone, I'm happy to adjust my schedule.
And we can do it earlier, we can start at 8. My Tuesdays start at 7, we can start at 7 too. Oh, that's right, yes, I'm sorry. And it can be by teams, if it needs to be by teams also. I mean, I'm pretty flexible. Okay.
Awesome.
Great. Super.
Okay, I'll send out a calendar invite.
Okay. Now we'll go ahead and move on to the 3H, the update on the BEDC funding commitments.
Don't mean to add salt to the wound. These are already included in the item, so these are not additional, so please don't freak out over the numbers. Right now, we're still working through the MoCA Ventures. That was the project called Swipe. They have resubmitted. We're going through planning. I don't know, it's TBD whether or not that project makes completely. The commercial interest rates have really put a damper on folks' desire to take a risk. Accutronics, he's itching. We have an update, and you see Doucette in the back. We have an update to show on the Accutronics plat, which will require some conversation by the board because of easements and things. Fiesta's also kind of gone cold a little bit. Again, they were itching 8 months ago, but as things continue to climb. TA Adhesives, they are marching forward. That is also one they are ready and raring to go. The one that you don't see on here is the one that you chose not to incentivize, and that is LS, sorry. LS Electric, which is the Korean company. We chose not to incentivize them. They are located in the business park. They are already into their expansion. Their plans are under permitting review, ready to go. So. As we talked about, Blakey, Jackson, Insightful. Oy. So we had the attorneys send a letter to Insightful. We do not have a report as of yet. So not sure we're going to get a report at any particular point in time. Fiber in the business park and city water funding, Councilmember Lee, those are items that would come off that would show that balance decrease in that following year.
My question, and I know the agenda item says funding commitments, so I don't know if we can talk about it specifically, but if we've signed a contract in July and we still don't have a report, are you going to propose to the board that we maybe cancel that contract?
The attorneys are looking at cancellation and potential refund.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on this topic?
Yes. Yes, this
Yeah.
is the funding. Sorry. As we talk about Accutronic and Triple Arrow, for our new board members, the project is on 10 acres in the industrial park. As we have been doing the engineering through the industrial park, there is a giant easement there which had been situated as its own lot because Accutronics, obviously we said 10 acres, you got to carve out 10 acres. But if we leave it as its own lot, then the board is going to be responsible for perpetual maintenance in that area. So Mr. Bratton would do set engineering. Let me get that up on.
Okay. All right. Good evening. What she's going to show on the screen is a slightly different version. Well, it's the same thing, but different colors than this. And so this project had a plat done. There was some evolution. I think there was some indecision happening as it was going forward. And the lot was described for Accutronics that was 10 acres, and that was between the gas pipeline easements and a south line parallel to that, exactly 10 acres. Then in the evolution and discussing street alignments, the street alignments were changed, which changed both sides of that. And if you change both sides, then the size of the lot got bigger. And so as it came to me, I was looking at stuff Angela sent me, and it said 10.00 acres, 10.00 acres, but what had been platted was actually 12 point something acres. That started me raising my hand going, hey, and we had several conversations with Angela, with Sylvia, with Fabiola, and then finally with Greg. And then during that conversation, went back to Accutronics and said, hey, it's supposed to be 10 acres. We made it narrower to make it 10 acres and showed them an exhibit for it. And they came back and said, well, we don't really like that. We like for it to flare a little bit on the south side. And so it was exactly 10 acres exclusive of the pipeline easements. And so what we did, and you see that, is there a pointer nearby? Does this happen to be a pointer?
Did I take the pointer?
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
There you go.
okay. I need to be patient. Okay, so that pipeline easement runs exactly parallel to this diagonal line that you see. And so what we did then, after we made that exactly 10 acres for Accutronics exclusive of the pipeline easement, just move that line over to incorporate that pipeline easement into tracks 4, 6, and 2. And I've not discussed that or shown that to Accutronics yet because it's not really my position to negotiate property deals on behalf of the EDC without consulting with the EDC. So what we're here for tonight is to have the board's blessing of the revised boundary and to take that back. And Sylvia and Angela will have to let me know exactly how to do that, if they want me to do it or whether they want to pass through them.
So
I'll
so
stop
if I
rambling.
understand you correctly, you are going to take away the easement section on track 2, 4, and 6.
Yes.
And by doing that, it takes that 13.84 acres and reduces it down to exactly 10. Is that correct?
It will be,
Or close?
it is exactly 10.00 exclusive of the easement.
Okay. And by doing such, since we don't, I mean, that's the easement of the pipeline.
Correct.
They would then be responsible for the maintenance of that easement area. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure I understand
Yeah.
it.
And so this is the actual plat document stitched together. That highlighted area that I put there, that's the area of the easement that's been incorporated into those lots, and I'll let y'all.
Okay. My next question is, does that impact the Mocha site?
It does.
And
I didn't.
it has to. Yeah.
It does impact the Mocha site, and I was so focused on Accutronics until this evening as we were talking about Mocha, didn't make note of that.
Yeah, it would.
How exactly does it?
Because tract 2 is that
Yeah,
Mocha site?
it's right here. Sorry, I know you.
I'm sorry,
Okay, so
right
it
here.
would
And
take
so
away
that pipeline
that
easement
much
is right
acreage.
here and also is incorporated into that. Has that tract already been conveyed to Mocha?
Yes, it has, but they bought it with the knowledge of the easement there, correct?
But did what they buy through the easement?
The LCRA easement actually affected the amount of the property, so I know they knew the easements were there. We had to go back and amend it.
Okay. Can we ask then our attorney to go back and take a look at it and just review that purchase agreement and make sure that we are all,
Yeah.
that we are all knowledgeable about the fact of the easement?
Yes, sir, I will make a note of that.
Thank you very much.
There are a couple other ways to deal with it if forced to. If they already own that tract of land, they could sign the plat and you could quit claim that remaining easement land to them. Push comes to shove, you could attempt to quit claim it back to the pipeline company. I don't know if they'd accept it or not, but what we want to avoid is the EDC being responsible for maintenance and perpetuity.
Good try, good try.
Yeah, we don't own it. We can't make that decision right now. That's why I'm going to ask our legal team to look into this because the easements are a little tricky, I think. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so I guess just for clarification, in discussing with Accutronics their piece, is it okay to transmit that to them and begin to talk? Because they're very eager to get their documents updated.
I'm going to make a suggestion that we, that the city manager, the acting executive director, go and have the discussion with them. It has not closed yet, therefore it is not a completed transaction. And maybe get with the legal team and see what is the proper way to advance that to them so that we don't get ourselves in any kind of a pickle.
Sure. The one item, and I shared it, was the only thing Accutronic would say is no, because now I have a larger taxable piece of property.
Okay, but the workaround would be to basically take that out of the equation, out of the 13, make it 10, and just keep that in the easement where,
Which is
if I
not a-
understand it right, and again, I'm not an attorney,
Yeah.
so I'm making assumptions here, okay? That's why I really would like the legal team to take a look at it, to come back to us. So I'm going to suggest, no, you do not contact them. I'm going to have Sylvia make that discussion point with the legal team because I think that's the proper way to do it. Any other inputs on that? Okay.
All right, I'll provide a separate exhibit for you, Sylvia, that shows just that, because our page breaks and the plat cut it up and it makes it confusing. That's my tape job there, so.
So just for clarity, staff's recommending that we not change, we're not, Did we not change any of the dollar values? We're just changing that the track is 13.94, because I don't think we're
Correct.
suggesting that they buy 13
No,
acres
no,
that
no,
they
no,
can't
no, not at all,
use.
not at all. It's the total amount. I
We
mean,
just need to clean up the exhibits
Correct.
and make everything match.
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And again, I'm not an attorney, but I have to ask this question. If they theoretically own 13 acres, the appraisal district is going to come to them and talk about the 13, not the fact that they actually own 10. So,
But the appraisal district's also going to know that there's an easement on it. That's a recorded easement, and so that will impact the appraisal value as well.
okay.
Correct? I mean,
In theory, it should.
Appraisals have
We-
been
we've-
crazy,
Yeah.
so I don't know.
We've all
In
fought the
theory,
appraisal district
yes.
before, so.
I just know if it was me, if I was buying the property, that would be one of my main questions, is that as long as they agree that I'm looking at paying taxes on 10 acres, not on 13.84, I would be okay with it. But if it was me, I would need some kind of a letter stating it, and I just want to make sure we're doing it absolutely by the book.
And there is some nominal add value for them. It's not that you can do nothing on top of the easement. You're just very restricted in what you can do. Sometimes you can build parking and other things, so it may have some value to them, and it should be at a reduced value on the property rolls because you can't construct buildings on it or things like that, so, okay.
it's always a good idea to control your borders, you know?
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely, yeah.
Because what you can, you may have limited what you can do, but at least you know what's going to happen
Right.
on that property, as opposed to if it's sold to the track on the other
Right.
side.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yep. And then the only other concern I would have is if Accutronics is doing secure work and LCRA needs access, how that works. But
Well, actually, that one's not LCRA, that's Lavaca Gathering System, that's a hydrocarbon pipeline.
yeah, whoever.
Well, they could choose to put their fence on the south side of that easement if they so choose. So. Yeah.
And based on what they do, I would say they do have security concerns. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
So staff, do you need a motion to accept, or? No, because we'll bring back the official. Perfect.
Okay, then we will go ahead and move on to 3I, the discussion and possible action on a proposal by Blue Bottom Electric for the installation of electrical services to build out the remainder of the Bastrop Business and Industrial Park at an estimated cost of $667,000.
First of all, my apologies. His name is Tracy, not Terry. It's just been.
dad's Terry, so I get that all the
It's just, all right, well, great. See, I read minds too. So again, this is one of the topics of conversation I think we'll need to have as we make decisions moving forward of the industrial park. And I don't anticipate the board taking action, although I needed to have this in front of you because Blue Bonnet is itching.
Well, it's not like Blue Bonnet's running out of money right now and looking for another project to do. But you're right. We did.
Well, in their planning. In their planning, this
Okay.
is a project that would be planned.
Yeah, and again, I would just suggest that that's part of the discussion we have on all of this expenses and outlays and things like that in our budget discussions. So have they actually given you some kind of a preliminary estimate as well as a layout?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's one segment of the layout. That's not the same. Oh. Let me. Yes, I have something different. It's in your packet. I don't know what's on the screen, but what's in your packet is this layout.
And there's a detail on the estimate, riser
Yes.
poles, wire and
Yes.
labor. What's the delivery time on the switchgear?
Good question. We have other projects who say a few months. Transformers, a good 12 to 18 months.
So I'm just think that should be a part of the strategic discussion, since that's the biggest hunk of the cost of the estimate.
So right now, I guess what we're going to do is that we're just going to, this will be part of our discussion. Yeah. We're going to table that right now. Oh, and I will look for a motion to table that.
Motion to table.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. All right, 3J, discussion and possible action on resolution R 2023-0014, approving the expenditure of BEDC funds in the amount of $164,000 for the downtown lighting project. And I guess my first question is that was a little bit different than what we saw in the expenditure report.
That is correct. Because initially, when we laid out the budget months and months ago, the finance director, CFO, thought that we would have expended some by the end of the budget year. We did not. And after I reviewed it to make sure it's not there, so I bumped it up to the full amount that we initially put into the budget, which is 164.
So one of the reasons this project got delayed for a really long time was because there were easement discussions and do people want it? And our executive director / city manager, you made some comments as to there's been some modifications to the design. Would you mind expanding on that?
Yes. So when the project first started, there was discussion about attaching two buildings downtown. The thought was that there would essentially be lighting all along the building, the outline of the buildings. That gets very difficult on private property, even with hold harmless, who has access, how do you turn on, how do you turn off, who's actually paying the bill, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The prior ACM, we went through a design with the engineer, and what was decided was additional poles downtown, which would carry lights across the street. Well, when we laid that out, that was a very cluttered sidewalk in competition with additional signage that's supposed to go downtown in terms of wayfinding and things that the Main Street Board is working on, in addition to cutting into brand new sidewalks, in addition to some ADA accessibility issues. So that's been scaled back. We will be doing uplighting of the trees, and there will be additional lighting all the way down to almost the Ferry Park through the downtown area, but gone is the ability to light all the way across the street. It just was not possible to do that. Included in that is some issues with height, as Chestnut is a TxDOT road, and so we've got big trucks and things going through there. So it's been a complicated project, to say the least. What the city has done is our current Christmas lighting that is up and will uplight the trees. When that comes on, we're going to leave that on for an extended period of time. We've negotiated that contract, and it will morph over into this contract. So our downtown businesses, especially during February, for example, will be able to change the lights to pink, and Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and domestic violence to purple, those kinds of things. So there will be a lighting effect. There will be greater ambiance and safety in the downtown area, greater attraction to businesses, extended hours, being able to eat on the sidewalks and things. But it will not be the cross-street lighting that I think had been originally designed or thought, nor the lighting of the buildings themselves.
And it's still $164,000?
Yes, ma'am. That's with BP&L doing a good portion of the work. Parts and engineering are expensive.
So I make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-14.
I'll second, but I have a question. So, I mean, I'm all for it because I think that the downtown lighting would be a great enhancement to our downtown. It is a lot of money. So my question is about the maintenance of the lighting. What guarantees do we have in terms of maintenance for the lighting from the contractor? You said BP&L is doing that? Oh, this is all BP&L, we're not contracting out?
There will be some segments that are contracted out, but BP&L for the vast majority of it is doing the work, and it will be a BP&L Public Works maintained project.
Okay, that's good to know, because I'm like, so now our guys are going to have to, on top of doing our public parks and streets, take care of the lights. So BP&L will be handling the maintenance on it. Do we have an understanding of, like, how long this night, like, I don't want to turn all these lights up and then next year BP&L is having to fix every light down Main Street.
I do not, but I will have a report back from Curtis Irvin, the
Okay.
BP&L director.
Okay, great, thank you.
This also doesn't take into account when you say maintenance, there is a bill, right, that goes to operate, and so that also will be a city maintained expense.
Okay, well, we have a second on the motion. Any further discussion before we go? Okay, well then, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. All right. 3K, discussion and possible action on the purchase agreement executed on January the 8th, 2018 to sell a 9.525 acre parcel of property located at 108 South Jackson Street in the Bastrop Business Park to Bastrop County.
Yes, sir. Chair Spencer, you had asked us to to get with our legal counsel, which we did, and it's been reviewed a couple of times by a couple of different people. They have given us their input, and part of that input was that we have to have board input before we do anything, that we can't take a next step as to whatever we're going to do. Does that make sense? I know it makes sense to you. I'm not sure that it makes sense to the new board members. So.
A little bit of history, and maybe I'll have Sylvia also or speak up as well, please. No, sorry. Poor choice of words. I apologize. This happened again. This was what, 2018. So it's been 5 years, right? And we've gone back and forth. And at the time it was proposed, it seemed like a pretty good idea because it's not really the best piece of property there is in the entire industrial park. But things started to get a lot more complicated when we actually got into more of a negotiation and discussion of who does what. Yeah, and back then they were ready to go. And actually, Director Schrader, you were the mayor at the time, and you were very much involved in this conversation. So I'll ask for you to
Well,
add.
for clarity, it predated, it had been going on prior to that. The contract finally came in January of 18, but the former executive director, Mr. Kirkpatrick, and Angela can voice for that. It had been discussed for a very, very long time, and it came to the board in January of 18 because the county was ready to rock and roll immediately, and then things changed, and in these 5 years, the county has put up $500, and nothing's, to my knowledge, there were never plans submitted, and nothing ever happened with the contract.
Yeah, correct. So going on with that, after the review of it, I had asked to put together a letter that said, okay, guys, we want out of this. This is not going anywhere. You guys have not provided anything. The discussion has not ensued, really, to any degree. And things keep on changing whenever we bring it up. Now we have new county commissioners and we have new county judge. Things are just not what they were back in 2018. So where we are right now is that I would like to get a board approval to go ahead and send a letter to the county judge and the county commissioners to basically get out of that real estate purchase agreement that, again, we only put $500 down, and we all know that the value of the land has changed so much, so it just doesn't seem the highest and best use anymore in that piece of property.
Purchase price would have been $100,000.
Correct. our legal counsel has also informed us that because the original approval of the sale of the property was done via resolution, we have to pass a new resolution to rescind the first one. So I believe that is included in your packet. It may not have been. It was kind of a last-minute addition, so, okay.
2023-0015.
Any questions on this or any comments? We need a motion to do the resolution then.
Question.
Okay.
So then if we're going to back out the contract with the county, is that what we're going to mark it in for? So then will we use that 9.5 acres then to market with other companies coming in? Okay, cool.
Although it is worth mentioning that not all 9.5 acres is buildable. I don't know if Sylvia wants to speak to that.
There's about 3.5 acres of that entire lot that would be buildable. It's got some pretty significant drainage concerns. Obviously, you can engineer anything if you wanted all 9.5 to be buildable, and in today's market, perhaps that's something to consider. But in the original preliminary engineering as we did this, most of that area would be taken up by detention. Also noteworthy to note that the county is going through an assessment of all of the parcels that they have as they work through a facilities master plan and decide whether or not they're going to go out for a bond for some additional area or buildings that they need to build. In particular, a justice center and perhaps an additional building for development services.
Resolution 2 here. Approving that. Yes.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R 2023-0015.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Thank you very much. The motion carries. Okay.
We will prepare that for your signature.
Great. Thank you very much. All right. Well, we are at the end of our program tonight, so need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you.